Alright, it's been a pretty big January and February so far of just talking about Digimon news, but let's scale things back a little bit. Return to Prime OG Karn EX videos. It is officially our first top 10 of 2026, and today we're hitting up a classic because I'm here to tell you about 10 more Digimon that I think it is incredibly likely you will never see again. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to another video. It feels good to be doing a top 10 again. But you know what else feels good? A great skincare routine, and that's why I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Geologie. Geologie is award-winning skin, hair, and body care, simple to use, proven to work, and designed to actually fix your skin. Does your face always look flushed or irritated? Or are you dealing with redness that makeup or concealers can't even cover? And do you have sensitive skin that reacts to everything? Because I sure do. The solution is Geologie's gentle dermatologist-tested formulas that won't trigger flare-ups. With no harsh ingredients, Geologie products are designed for sensitive skin. Results speak louder than words, so look at this transformation. Geologie is a subscription service. Because skincare is a journey, not a quick fix. Real results take consistency. You can't just use a product once and expect miracles. And the great thing about the subscription box is that it never runs out. Products arrive when you need them, so there's no gaps in your routine. And Geologie's new offer gives you 80% off your personalized skincare trial set. Just $10 for a complete 4-piece personalized skincare routine. But hey, if a subscription isn't your thing, Geologie is also available on Amazon with up to 25% off and Prime shipping. So what are you waiting for? Use my code and grab 80% off your personalized skincare trial in the description box or the pinned comment down below, and thank you to Geologie for sponsoring this video. So yeah, this video is going to be talking about 10 Digimon that have appeared across all sorts of media that I think it's very unlikely you're ever going to see again. Some of these Digimon don't even have official pictures, so I'm going to kind of use representative pictures when I can. It's honestly great to be in an era of Digimon where actually it's very likely that a bunch of Digimon that we haven't seen for years will show up. However, for one reason or another, I'm starting to suspect that some of these will never show up again. Though, as always, I love invoking my stand time after time and deeply hope just by talking about them, these Digimon will be manifested and return one day. So number 10 is a very new Digimon, Sakuradamon, which we don't have a picture of. I actually might just use the Wikimon picture here of the question mark Agumon 2006. I talked about this before, but Sakuradamon was a brand new Digimon introduced in the Digimon Cross Wars Digimon Expo 25 reading drama. It's a definitely very jokey Digimon, its name coming from Hiroyuki Sakurade, the producer for Digimon Cross Wars, but also there is a real-life Sakuradamon station next to the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department headquarters. So it's a bit of a double meaning and actually reminds me of another Digimon we're probably never going to see again, Kaminarimon, whose name comes from Kaminari, the Japanese for lightning or thunder, but also the Kaminarimon, the Thunder Gate. Very similar naming convention there. Next up is a Digimon that thankfully we do have images of, and that is the Digimon World 3 Cardmon. There are many varieties of Cardmon. They're sort of like the Gashapon mechanic to get booster packs in Digimon World 3 that you can get by kicking trees, using the fishing pole item, etc. With a ton of different versions, but never seen again. These Digimon have never even been depicted in 2D art. We only have the 3D models from Digimon World 3, and now we also have Cardmon the Appmon, which is a design I absolutely love. I would have expected, honestly, with Digimon Liberator existing, being so heavily focused on the Digimon card game, like it being used to promote the Digimon TCG, and even Digimon Elysian coming out this year, those would have been perfect opportunities to reintroduce Cardmon, and they haven't. I think the Appmon of the same name definitely muddies things. If we look at Gaiamon, we have obviously Gaiamon from Digimon World 3 and Gaiamon the Appmon, and we've had Gaiamon the Appmon show up in Digimon Liberator, but they've only flirted with the idea of Galactimon becoming Gaiamon because, yeah, there's a bit of confusion, especially for a card game that is so reliant on name containing or Digimon names. It's already a bit of a nightmare that they have to clarify that Blimpmon is not name containing Impmon, so imagine if we had Gaiamon and Gaiamon and Cardmon. Perhaps better to just leave Digimon World 3 Cardmon in the past and maybe make an Appmon card for Cardmon. Then is one that always made me a little bit curious, and that is Okunimon, another Digimon I do not have pictures for, but it was a feminine feminine alternative for Agunimon. Once again from a special drama, this time a CD, A Train Named Hope. And often these CD and audio dramas are very comedic. In this instance, Agunimon says that he used to be a Digimon known as Okunimon, a shrine maiden born in Izumo. And that's a specific reference because the name Okunimon comes from Izumo no Okuni, the originator of Kabuki theater, and a combination with Agunimon, Agnimon. There's a bunch of implications to be made here that Agunimon used to be a girl, and also always made me really excited at the idea of maybe having spirits used by different genders. Maybe if Zoe used the human spirit of flame, she might become Okunimon rather than Agunimon. We're likely never going to see this again for two reasons. First of all, it's a CD drama exclusive, it's never been depicted in art, but second of all, despite how fun of an idea it is to have a gender-changed Agunimon, I don't think it's actually legitimately supposed to be real, more of a show and act that Agunimon was putting on, a bit of a lie for comedic purposes. It would be way cooler in my opinion if Agunimon literally did have a feminine version, but it doesn't seem to be strictly the case, and that's why I think we're probably never going to see it again. Though, never say never, but I do think in a world where the frontier spirits are even struggling to all appear in Time Stranger, we might be waiting a while to see gender-bent versions of them too. Next is, unfortunately, Omedamon, which is the Omegamon Medabots crossover Digimon. And of course, we also have Omega Knight, which is the Medabot that looks like Omnimon forged from Grey Wars and Garuru Metal. The reason I think we're not going to see Omedamon going forward is that they just haven't done it. Collabs are inherently weird. We see this with a lot of media, especially video games where there were product placements or collabs in old media that then make it very hard to remaster or re-release a product because the licenses and agreements for those collabs have expired. A lot of people wondering whether the various collabs in Metal Gear Solid 4 are going to make it to the new Master Collection versions. And Medabots and Digimon don't seem to have a bad relationship. In fact, even up to more recent times, Medarot S, the mobile game in Japan, has had more Medabot versions of Digimon, like Beelzemon, Gallantmon, and others. However, Digimon haven't really kept up their side of the collab. And while Omedamon did show up in mobile games and the Vital Bracelet, it feels like they're phasing out the idea of collabs showing up in future Digimon media and focusing on Digimon as a more concise lore bundle, which is a shame in my opinion. Digimon has so many collabs and we're going to talk about more of them in this video, but with Omedamon basically starting as an April Fool back in the day and then eventually maturing into a real thing, it's kind of the progenitor of this new era of Digimon other franchise crossovers, and it feels a shame to say that I don't think we're likely to see it in a video game or anything like that ever again, though maybe it'll show up on socials or something. Alright, so Digimon variants often get a mixed bag of treatment from Bandai and Toei. For example, Black Gaugamon just showed up in Digimon Beat Break, despite having basically no outings, and that was its first anime outing. However, we do have a very rare Vidramon variant in Vidramon Black, which as far as I'm aware is exclusively a Hyper Colosseum card exclusive and has showed up in absolutely zero other media, though please do correct me in the comments down below if I'm wrong in that respect. They just made this black variant of Vidramon and it's really cool. There's this recurring problem with black variants of the Vmon family being really aesthetically pleasing and then just never showing up again. As I've talked about in my previous videos, there is also a Black Magnamon which showed up in a banner for Digimon Eirias, as well as a bunch of other recolors. The Black Magnamon was never really officially designated as a variant, but I absolutely think it should be, and I know it's very popular with a lot of Digimon community people, especially like Latin America, Spanish, and Portuguese-speaking people really seem to love Black Magnamon. And while maybe not quite as cool because of the lack of black armor, I do think Vidramon Black is incredibly sick too, but just doesn't seem to want to get many outings like Black Guilmon that I talked about before. At least Black Guilmon has like showed up here and there. Black Vidramon, oh that poor Digimon. Really it's only fan games like Digital Tamers 2 keeping it alive, but I can't find anything that references Vidramon Black in the background of official media. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to be corrected and know that we have seen it recently, but sadly I do think we're unlikely to see it ever again. We're back on the collab train and we are talking about Xenogarurumon and Wrath Greymon from the Monster Hunter collab collab. The only way I ever see these two appearing again is sadly if they reissue the Monster Hunter collab. I had a lot of hope that Monster Hunter Wilds, because they do have a ton of crossover events, would have a Digimon event with Xenogarurumon and Wrath Greymon, but nowhere to be seen. We've now got Monster Hunter Stories 3 coming out, and maybe there's a chance, because that's much more of a monster taming type game, more similar in the wheelhouse to things like Digimon, that these two Monster Hunter collab Digimon will show up, but they're just such cool designs. I was already disappointed enough that on the Monster Hunter V-Pets, they didn't get their own equivalent to Omnimon, like a Hunter Omnimon, but now knowing that we're probably never going to see these guys again, it just stings. I think there's a likelihood, because the Monster Hunter V-Pets sold really well, that we might see a new Monster Hunter Digimon V-Pet collab of some variety. However, it very much felt like it was really strong marketing on the Digimon side of things, and Monster Hunter themselves didn't seem too interested. I've had people I talked to at Capcom that didn't even know it was a thing, and they work on Monster Hunter or work on socials for Monster Hunter. Doesn't exactly inspire confidence. It would have been so cool for the DLC for Time Stranger to incorporate a bunch of collab Digimon like Omedamon, Xenogarurumon, and Wrath Greymon, as well as some more that I'm going to talk about later in the video. I'm not even a Monster Hunter fan, and I want to see more of these guys. Alright, in at number 4 are the unnamed Trailmon from Digimon Next. Now, Trailmon are doing okay, better than they have done in a while. Of course, first showing up in Digimon Frontier as the trains that usher the kids around the digital world. We did actually have a bunch of Trailmon revealed in Frontier, but also in Digimon Next. And I hadn't seen these Trailmon before. I don't know if it's something that people have recently become aware of because of rereading Digimon Next or whatever, but there is this unnamed Trailmon, this unnamed Trailmon, and this unnamed Trailmon, and they all look pretty cool. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think we're exactly hurting for trained Digimon, including all the Trailmon we know of, plus Reshiramon, Locomon, and Grand Locomon. We've got at least 18 trained Digimon, and we're not even seeing really Digimon outside of the normal Trailmon, the Trailmon worm, show up in things like the Digimon TCG, or getting added to the Digimon reference book or anything like that. So honestly, I'd be surprised if we see many more Trailmon in general in future, but I think there's more of a chance. However, these unnamed Trailmon that were manga exclusive just for the Digimon Next manga, gonna go out on a limb and say that we're probably not gonna see hide nor tail of those for a number of years until Bandai gets really desperate. Alright, regrettably, I am finally letting the ship sail on Citramon. I adore Citramon. If you're not familiar, in Digimon Data Squad, they had to get around a Bomber-Nanimon in a theme park, and remember, this is the era of Digimon that was being dubbed by Disney, being shown on Jetix and things like that, so it wasn't really a good look to have a big bomb threatening a theme park. However, recently we have had Bomber-Nanimon show up in Digimon Beat Break in episode 13, which feels fitting because Ryota Yamaguchi, the series composer for Digimon Beat Break, was also the series composer for Digimon Data Squad or Digimon Savers, where the Bomber-Nanimon Citramon censorship happened. Almost feels like he's taking another crack at Bomber-Nanimon, obviously in Japan, but also for how it will work when given to Western audiences. Like, hey, you didn't get Bomber-Nanimon back then, but now you do. And we do have an ongoing Digimon Beat Break dub, which is doing 5 episodes at a time, this time of course being dubbed by Toei and Crunchyroll with Studiopolis. A lot of people have joked that this would be the opportunity to have Bomber-Nanimon be edited to be Citramon again. However, I highly doubt that's going to happen just because of the way Crunchyroll works. It tends to be the exact same video file but with audio options. They're not going to have a brand new video just for Citramon, and if Bomber-Nanimon is okay to be in English media now, the chances of Citramon returning are low. However, we still don't have a Bomber-Nanimon card in the TCG. In fact, it's reasonably absent from a lot of media, like Digimon Story Time Stranger. Its most recent video game outing being Digimon World Next Order, but that did get a reissue for Switch not too long ago, and Bomber-Nanimon was there in its entirety, so I think the era of Citramon has sailed. Maybe a reference or something at some point in the future, but given that it showed up in Beat Break recently and that next set of dub episodes is probably going to cover it, I'm saying goodbye to my orange friend. Though, my friend and modder Zeke did make a Nanimon mod for Digimon Story Time Stranger to make a sort of bearded Citramon, which is available as a mod for Time Stranger on PC. We did a whole video with it and a bunch of other mods on Extra Juicy, so if Digimon official media won't keep my boy Citramon alive, at least people in the Digimon community will for many, many years to come. Alright, my penultimate pick is just kind of Digimon Cross Wars as a concept. Not all Digimon from Digimon Cross Wars, obviously. Your main Shoutmon evolutions, your Gumdramons, Ballistamons and stuff, we're going to see those for years to come. I'm talking more about your weirdos. Things like, and my kind of main pick, Splashmon Darkness Mode Drippins. We have Splashmon, the humanoid form. We have Splashmon Darkness Mode, the Tiger Garurumon form. And then we have Splashmon absorbing its drippins to become Macho Man. Digimon Cross Wars has many Digimon like these. Digimon that I'm almost certain will never get added to the Digimon reference book because they're just odd. I think if a form has like a dedicated name, for example, a Shoutmon Cross 3GM, we're of course way more likely to see it. However, forms like Beelzemon plus Starmons, or Maju Lilithmon, or yes, my main pick, Splashmon Darkness Mode Drippins, feel like something that maybe could show up in the background of Digimon card art and maybe have, but I just don't feel like there's ever going to be a push to make them work in V-Pets, the anime, or anything like that. However, I am very willing to be surprised. We've had Digimon like Burpmon, who are just weird entities, show up in Digimon Adventure 2020 and Digimon Beat Break, so nothing's impossible. But when we're struggling for sort of like named forms from Cross Wars to get their representation in card games, V-Pets, and even the video games, like Shoutmon Cross 4 couldn't have been in Time Stranger, I do think it's unlikely that we're going to see Splashmon Darkness Mode Drippins, Maju Lilithmon, or things like the Float mode of Decadramon or the Darkness mode of Dorbicmon with Fanglongmon ever again. And my final pick is going to hurt some V-Tamers fans. I think we finally have to let go of Panimon, Hermon, and Lycamon. If you're not familiar, they are 3 Digimon that were originally created for Digimon V-Tamer. However, they didn't fully debut. They did show up in the background of Digimon V-Tamer eventually, but they didn't have a full-on debut there. They were kind of more of a like, sorry. They were supposed to be more prominent, but they didn't end up being. With 3 really cool designs, I especially like the design for Hermon here on the bottom, but Lycamon and Panimon are also amazing. However, I think over the years we have seen Digimon like Mephismon for Panimon and Belphamon Rage Mode maybe for Lycamon take over and ruin any chance of them showing up. Plus Hermon kind of being this like skeletal warrior also makes me think of newer Digimon like Necromon and Doulahamon, so I feel like they've actually been folded into newer Digimon, which reduces their chances, I think, of ever showing up. However, again, never say never. There's always a small chance, but I think of all the V-Tamer Digimon stuck in V-Tamer jail that we've had freed over the years, these 3 that never quite fully even became real Digimon besides a little spotlight and a cameo feel very, very unlikely. But that is it. 10 more Digimon that I think you are probably never going to see again, unless of course you just look them up online and stare at their pictures fondly. But in official Digimon media, fat chance. Thank you to my sovereigns, ZDK14, Chaotic Prophet, Lupus Lichlord, and Jeremy Babineau over on patreon.com/Karn EX, and everyone else who supports me over on Patreon too, plus my YouTube channel members here on YouTube. I appreciate you all so goddamn much, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.